Hey World Division fans, this is your global original Nashtaters welcoming you back to another episode of World Divisions. So today is Monday, of course. We discuss a little bit of Monday news in the World Divisions, and of course last week essentially all my plans have been derailed. And today we're going to be going over all the stuff that's going on in the notice board, and of course what my plan is, simply because I have to sort of do a little bit more than I need to this week, because last week was a big disaster. Let's begin with some house cleaning, of course. There's a lot of massive house cleaning news here before we get into the actual news. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for supporting the April Fool's video that I did on the collaboration leak, supposedly of He-Man and the Masters of Universe. That was actually a lot of fun to do, even though I was running a temperature of 100.5 and super lethargic, tired, and overall suffering from intense malaise. And that was because I took the second shot of my vaccine, and of course I was actually getting a lot of reactions the following morning. I still crept out of bed to do that video because I felt like that was something I needed to give back to the community, since the community has given so much to me. Of course, the next day or so after that, I just simply couldn't crawl out of bed and do more continuous video for obviously World Divisions, because I really wanted to do a Friday Free Think episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and most likely do that topic conversation and just kind of inject it somewhere along the way in this week. Of course, Saturday I had to crawl out of bed and work. The good news was most of my symptoms were gone by then, and I ended up having a decent shift. And Sunday, of course, I just decided to make sure I just recuperate fully to make sure that I can get a lot of videos out this week. Now, there's some stuff that I want to make sure that I want to emphasize to my viewership, is that I think the channel needs to start having some sort of different direction, perhaps, or maybe just to make sure I have a clear path of direction. And in the future, I really hope to do more reviews of units and maybe even vision cards, because the EX is telling us that although units have the ability to actually go all the way to EX, should we be doing them, right? Should we be doing them on units that perhaps some people are questioning? And I think it's important to discuss those topic of conversations, because ultimately the game is very brutal. It's very brutal in the sense that it takes up a lot of resources to actually EX a unit. And a lot of times we must make that tough decision of, should we be doing that for every unit that's available? Now, obviously, the Krakens and whatnot, they're all going to do it, right? They're going to keep doing what they do. But I think what I'm trying to do is target the folks who are either free-to-play players or perhaps light spenders, to see if it's worth it of spending their essentially limited resources in terms of the Broadstone. So that's something I'm actually have in the works. And I mentioned that I had a lot of other plans in terms of host a 1 year anniversary. Even though we're still in the midst of celebration of the 1 year anniversary and the events are still going on, ultimately we have another month to kind of do them. I do plan on doing the 1,000 subscriber special video, which I will be doing this week for sure, because the Bahamut card is actually leaving the banners on Wednesday. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a massive summoning session. Most likely it will be a very short stream, and maybe we'll do some Q&A. So for those of you who want to join me live, I welcome you to come hang out with me. I tentatively have it set perhaps for Wednesday. If not, I'll replace my Friday streaming to do that. But I think it'll make more sense just to do it on Wednesday night. And I will give you a time in the community board. And if you're thinking about hanging out with me for just maybe an hour, let's go ahead and do that and set that up. And then of course, if you guys have other questions, whether personally about me or anything about the game, I feel free to do so in the comment section of that video as well. So those are all my plans for the future here. And I also do have a little surprise for you guys, which I will show you in the community board, because I think that's a great tool to be using for YouTube purposes. And I will go ahead and do that, and I will not talk about it in this video, but it's a nice little surprise. And I think that surprise would have been exposed to you guys on last Friday if I wasn't really sick. So it was definitely a pleasant surprise. So let's go ahead and get into today's news. Let's be honest, with the trial reckoning going on and all the stuff that's going on in the game still, there isn't a whole lot of room for new stuff, right? There's no reason for them to bring us new units. There's no reason for them to give us new vision cards, and obviously not many reasons to give us some sort of new events to be farming when we already have plenty of things to do. So we kind of expected that this week would be fairly slow, and lo and behold, it's fairly slow. But the good news is we are getting something again very free. Thanks for the votes, UR vision card will be given to us free. And this is essentially what was done, or what was taking place at the 6-month mark, where they were trying to figure out what our favorite character was. And we obviously voted for Zazan. Maybe for meme purposes, maybe as a joke. Regardless, people have spoken and they won Zazan. And thanks to the folks who did the UR Zazan April Fools, that was a little entertaining actually, because I was like, wait a second, there's no way they would have released this information and not done so officially. So I kind of didn't buy it on that one. But yeah, that was pretty interesting that people played a joke on that. So new vision card, of course, Zazan, by the way, is water for those of you who haven't built him. Party ability is going to be water attack up, accuracy, unlocks at max level, damage limit up. Limited bestow effect, max HP water types, and then of course, limited bestow effect for Zazan, Mont, Elsorel, interesting enough, Man-Eater. So what this essentially means is water is getting a humongous boost from all these vision cards they've released lately. And all these party abilities stack, remember that, right? So you don't necessarily need to skip any of those cards because you want to ultimately keep stacking some of these effects. Bear in mind though, water attack up and accuracy may overlap with some of the other cards, so that's something to keep in mind. And this card is absolutely free. The only problem is you still need to get the shards to actually maximize it. It doesn't say anywhere that we're getting all the shards for free. It just says we're getting this card actually for free, but not necessarily all the shards. Something to keep in mind there. So as you can see, it says, as a way of showing our thanks to all the folks, all players will receive this card as a gift. So you'll definitely get this from your present box. And then of course it says you can actually get 75 shards by doing the challenge board. So again, my only assumption is you don't actually get all the shards for free. So that's something to keep in mind though, because you do still have to end up probably spending some Visi ores to finish this card off. In other news, we're going to be getting some newer units that are going to see the EX job treatment. Gilgamesh, Mediana, all ice units. Pretty good because they're essentially going to be perhaps joining team alongside with Auron, which will make ice sort of a annoying factor as well. But I think Mediana for sure definitely deserves it. Sir O is going to get some treatment. Phoebe, which is one of my favorite units, is getting a treatment. And Zazan is getting, of course, a treatment. Personally, I would definitely like to go back and revisit Phoebe and see what happens with some of the new skills she's gaining, and hopefully perhaps we can see if she's worthy of taking the EX 120, right? So that's something to look forward to in the future for a video. Weekly campaign. Not much going on here. We just get our typical now 2,500 free Visi orders along with other stuff, which will be mostly tickets guaranteeing you at least one UR unit or vision card of sorts. Not much else going on. We're going back to double drops instead of the triple drops, and that's it. Now reruns, we're only getting one specific thing, and that thing is going to be the books of guns, swords, spears, and you now will have the ability to farm for the classic weapon, Raziel Gethi, which by the way was the very first weapon I believe you could farm alongside with, I think, whatever was happening in Shadowbringers. So this is kind of bringing everything back to sort of semi full circle, right? And for those of you who really enjoy gunners, this is an opportunity to farm as many of these copies as possible, because I know there's probably at least 4 or 5 gunners in the game now. So you ultimately want to have a lot of these guns and get them all equipped up. And so this opportunity to earn a lot of different things if you haven't done so. By the way, I believe this only applies to newer accounts, because if those of us who already done the events, all the stuff that we exchanged from the Mog Shop will no longer be available to be exchanged because it doesn't recuperate. So that's something to bear in mind. Most likely a skip for a lot of players in terms of trying to get the good stuff like the rainbows and the thoughts, obviously. but you can still farm a lot of the turtles and other things, like for example prisms and thoughts. You know, if you're running out of those, is a good opportunity to start farming those up. So at least you got something to do. And then we're going to get a new guild map, which will have dark resistance up. Whoa, wait, we're going back to the castle exterior. Well, this is bringing back a lot of memories from last year, right? Dark resistance up. So it's kind of weird because essentially what this is doing is still catering to the light team meta shift. And honestly, it's quite annoying because Yuna is very annoying to kill unless you have some massive, some sort of strategy to take her out. And I'm assuming a lot of people probably relying on dark teams. So this will definitely be relying on some light teams here. So keep that in mind because guild battle will be a very tough challenge for the next couple of weeks. So, all right, that's all in a nutshell what's going to be happening in the upcoming week. For those of you who are still interested in seeing my points of view on if the weapons are actually worth your time or not, I think I might have to redo it because we are so many weeks into the game, in the 1 year anniversary celebration. It's kind of pointless now to say are they worth your time. So I think what ultimately should be is, are they worth your materials, right? Are they going to be worth crafting? Because personally, I don't think all of them are worth crafting because there are much better items out there in the game already that exist compared to them. So maybe I'll break those down for you and put that out as a video somewhere along the line this week. All right, until then, take care of yourself, all your loved ones. Nashtaters out of here. Take care, guys.